I finally made myself go and check out Oklahoma. It is one of the most talked about revivals in London over the past year, but for some reason I just couldn't get myself to go and see it. So, okay, today, and you're coming with me, and I'll tell you a little bit more about my impressions after the show. I went to see Oklahoma in London on the West End just before it closes. It closes on the 2nd of September, and I do feel like I left it till very late to share this recommendation with you, but if you see this on time, this is definitely a musical worth checking out, and in this video I'm going to tell you why I think that is the case. I totally get you if you aren't too keen to see Oklahoma because you just think it's one of those classic musicals that are a little bit out of date. It is set in America, in Oklahoma, as the title says, and it is very much a story that seemingly isn't really relatable to today's circumstances. But I think underneath that story, at the very surface level, it is a story about love, about community, about people who are considered outcasts and how they're treated. And I think that all those things are applicable to the society today because they are simply timeless. And this is one of the first reasons why I think this musical is definitely worth checking out, especially this new production, which has impressed audiences and critics across both America and UK. The second thing I have to acknowledge is the amazing score. These songs are definitely standing the test of time, and while I thought that I went to the musical not knowing many or any songs, I left the theater singing Oklahoma all the way up until today, and it is just in my head alongside a few different great numbers. And I think this is just another proof that if a musical is great, there isn't a time limit to it. It is always relevant, it is always fun, it is always good to watch. Especially in this new revival, they have a whole new sound because they're more modern, they're more stripped down, they're less of a country style. The arrangement of these numbers has a new life now because it is more adapted to the modern audiences. Probably the most impressive thing about this show is the way that they use lights, and I have never witnessed a show that used lights in such way. I think light shows and light effects and things like that are pretty common, but the first thing that you notice when you enter the theater is that the lights are on, and this is fairly standard and normal when you enter into the theater for lights to be on. But the thing with Oklahoma is that they didn't really turn down when the show started, and what this made me feel is almost like I'm witnessing something that I shouldn't, because I'm actually part of it and I'm much more included. It almost felt like you're witnessing a rehearsal and you're there, and like there's something about it that is very exposing because the actors can see you and you can see them and almost nothing is hidden. And I think it was such a clever choice, especially because actors for most of the part are all of them like on the stage and there's very little set movement and it's very much focused just on the characters. On a complete opposite side of this spectrum is that there is about 5 to 10 minutes when the audience is in absolute dark. And when I say absolute dark, I do mean it. It is pitch black and you can only hear the dialogue happening on the stage. I've never experienced something like this, and for me it was such an incredible feeling because it just really makes you focus. Like I think the first thing that everyone felt is a little bit like uncomfortable, as in like, is this planned or is this a mistake? And I did read in some of the reviews that this is what happened, so I kind of in the back of my head I knew about it, but also I didn't know when it's gonna come. So when it happened I was like, whoa, what's going on? It was such an interesting moment and I particularly enjoyed it, but I have to say this. There was someone in Royal Circle who decided that this is a good time to check their phone. So if you're imagining pitch black everywhere around you, like the whole theater, and this person checking their phone, I don't know who you are, but that's rude, and I don't think that it was fair for someone to do something like that in such a special moment. because we're all trying to be immersed in this, and you literally are ruining our experience. So I do think the theater manners are such an important part of being a theater goer. And if you are entering the theater, I think you really need to just be aware of it, and like be aware that this is not your individual experience. It is a community experience. It is the time that you're sharing with another, I don't know, 200, 600, however many people in the same building, and just respect that. And please don't check your phones. I've done this whole video about like theater manners, and one of the points also that I put in this video is around snacks. And I cannot believe that there was another person as well in front of me who was so slowly unpacking these, I think they were candies or something like that, but they were so loud and distracting the people who just like turning around. Anyway, I think that the main point here was to say that the lights were amazing, not only about that dark and light, which is quite contrasting, but also throughout like certain elements of the story got a bit more tense or needed more attention. There was at some points green light, orange light, then there were some like cameras and just like a projection of faces in the back of the stage. It felt very personal, and it felt like almost they are in my space and I'm in their space, because it's a love story about men chasing women. I think that there was an element of like female empowerment, and the cast of the show really brought to the light the fierce nature of the ladies in the show and how important they are. And I think ultimately it made it very much about a celebration of women, given the circumstances in which the show is created, where all the attention is towards getting that man that you want. It was really interesting to see how they managed to really lift them up and let them shine, and they made it also sexy and fun, and it felt like there were no limits. And I really loved that about the show, and really felt like it was empowering. It is a show that I didn't feel the most exhilarating and happy when I left. I was just kind of really pleased that I went to see it. Probably not my favorite that I've seen this year, but if you're after a show that is gonna make you feel really, really good, I think that Guys and Dolls or Crazy for You are amazing choices, and they're both on until 2024, so you have plenty of time to go and see them.